Hello, everybody. Welcome to Climate Conversations at Regent Radio. My name is Raymond,
And Leah.
and today we have with us Lily.
Hello, Lily.
Hey everyone, I'm super happy to be here. It's actually really nice to meet you and see both your faces.
Fun to have you here too.
And welcome to Climate Conversations.
I'm so glad to be here.
So, climate change is a topic that is on everyone's mind. What can we do at the governmental and individual level to be more responsive to climate change? And what sorts of actions can we personally take to be more involved? But first, can you please tell our audience a little about yourself and how you became involved with GreenUp?
Sure, yeah, definitely. I'm really excited to be here and to talk a little bit about that because it really is an all-level sort of issue. And I guess I should start by saying my name is Lili Paradi. My pronouns are she, her. I'm 24 years old and I'm the current communications manager at Peterborough GreenUP. Peterborough GreenUP is a charitable not-for-profit in Peterborough or Nokojivanong and is located on the treaty and traditional territory of the Michisaagig Anishinaabe. What people might know about GreenUp is that it is this area's leading environmental charity, and it means that we offer really hands-on programs for the community. We're very community-oriented and have been for 30 years now, so it's our 30th anniversary. Woo! And through that, we've done a lot of inspiring projects that showcase the potential for green, healthy, and active neighborhoods. It means that we work collaboratively with the public, with businesses, with residents, and through that, tackle things like climate change. And I became involved actually super recently in August. I just completed my Master of Science in Science Communication at the University of Edinburgh and my undergraduate degree at the University of Guelph in Wildlife Biology. And part of that role for me plays a part of this role as communications manager is to bridge that gap. So to be really involved with storytelling, making sure that people understand what they're learning about, what they're being told in the news, and to understand different audiences and to see what resonates with people and why does some information stick with them more than others. So that's kind of a bit about myself. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Lily.
Mhm.
Raymond?
What are some of the main activities of GreenUp, and why is it so important that climate action on the environment be impen in in
Yeah, that's such a good question. And thank you for that. I think climate action really kind of exemplifies everything that we do here. But the thing is, we have a mission and vision that is to inspire and empower an environmentally healthy and sustainable community. And so, what started 30 years ago as just like within the city of Peterborough was a experimental design garden called the Ecology Gardens, then grew into what is now GreenUp, which was formed under the umbrella program of the Kawartha World Issues Center, which is like a local, also not-for-profit that basically got the funding to then create GreenUp. And over 30 years, we then offered a variety of different programs, like through themes such as waste, water, energy, environment, as well as focusing on audiences like homeowners, as well as businesses and schools. So some of the sort of key projects that people might recognize at GreenUp are what has come into national news as being the DPAVE projects, which is where GreenUp staff identify areas of the city that are not being used as much. They take that area and they assess how they can then transform it into a space that reduces its carbon emissions. So usually that ends up being taking out the concrete and putting in native plants, as well as walkable spaces, so that there's more active transportation, which then leads into another program, which is called Shifting Gears, which is basically we're trying to shift the gears of the mindset that we have a lot of cars on the road, whereas we might need to shift that to having more bikes and walkers on the roads to reduce those carbon emissions. And part of this has a lens of adapting to climate change rather than just trying to stop that rising temperature, but trying to develop cities that are healthier and more sustainable. So working with local schools to see how kids can walk to school or roll or stroll to school means that they'll be healthier and more sustainable lifestyles in general. So that's kind of a snapshot of what our programs are. There's a lot more, and I feel like I could just like talk on and on. But do you want me to keep going, or should I save that for another question?
I mean, you could save it for another question if you want.
Sure, yeah. Sweet.
Add on your plans, because it is important for us to reduce carbon emissions. And plus, when people switch from cars to bikes, that mean more exercise for people. That mean healthier people. That mean longer lives.
Yeah, definitely. And like you hit it right on the head there. Like it's not just a environmental issue, it's a human issue, right? And having people be at the forefront of making changes that benefit themselves, but also the environment and also reducing those emissions, it ultimately is an economic benefit for people, a health benefit, like you mentioned. It makes you happier, I think. I think it's subjective, but it makes me happy. That's for sure.
A win-win for the planet and the people on it,
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah,
live longer.
Yeah.
exactly. And like to think of the future generations and what they might see as opposed to what we're seeing, and think, oh, like we can't really imagine a loss until we've actually lived it. But if we can empathize with the next generation, I think that would be one way to kind of see like, oh, are we doing the right thing right now? Or are we making it worse for ourselves?
Yeah. Okay. Can you tell us how GreenUp uses policy or collaborates with local municipalities to inform policy and change at the local level?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I can give you an example of what GreenUp does to work with local municipality to create really powerful change. And I think to do that, we kind of have to look at the provincial level and give respect to the Ontario government for providing not-for-profits like GreenUp with amazing funding opportunities that then create community programming. So through a series of an Ontario Trillium Foundation grants, we've been able to start up the Shifting Gears program, which also helps inform policy that goes back to the municipality and helps guide decisions made around active transportation. So we work with the local city hall and city council to provide recommendations on bike lanes as well as walkability, making sure that when people do walk in the city, they can access green spaces at the same time. And throughout that, we also get to see what it's like to work with policy and how many players are involved. So a lot of the time we are working with the public, we're getting inspiration. Then we take some of the research that we know about, the programs that we do, and we can provide then evidence to local municipality to change policies, which then help out the programs, which then provide funding. And it's all a big, beautiful circle. So that's like a bit about how we work with policy. And I feel like I missed the second half of your question.
Thanks.
In Regent Park, which is located in the downtown area in Canada's largest city, what kind of programs and actions do you think would be the most effective to have on board to make a difference in terms of having an impact on the well-being of this community?
Yeah, that's such a great question because I noticed that Regent community already has amazing community spaces, and residents come from all over the world, all different backgrounds, and live in all sorts of ways. I did a bit of research and saw that Regent Park has many different like retail parks, as well as different community services, career centers. And I feel like it's such a rich place to have opportunities that promote climate action, all starting with the residents that live there. And of course, I'm not from Regent Park, and I'm actually not from the Peterborough region. But the first thing I would say is to learn about the people that live there and to see what knowledge they already have, but also what they want to see in their communities. If there are any areas that are a visible minority or have low income, what do those people need to then live a more healthy and sustainable lifestyle, and to help the local municipality or government maybe focus on those areas of need. And so a huge part of what GreenUP does, which I feel like Regent Park could do, is to look at energy use and climate action. A big part of that is trying to see how to reduce our fossil fuel use and reduce carbon emissions. And so working with energy systems in residence buildings or in businesses and making sure that those are efficient enough so that we're not using or wasting energy, but affordable enough would be one way to see Regent Park take on climate action. So I can see there being something like a person who goes around, assesses homes, assesses businesses, similar to GreenUP's energy advisory team, which then can help people choose what the best option is for them to tackle climate action in their homes, in their businesses, by giving them options and providing them with opportunities to change the way that they currently heat their homes or use their energy. Same thing with businesses. And I think there's another side of that, which involves like money, of course. And I think to work with the local government to try and create subsidies or grants for people who are making these changes, so that Regent Park can become a little bit more energy efficient. The other thing is that, Regent Park feels like a really cool place to set up different green spaces and different areas where you can promote people moving from like cars to walking or using public transport like the subway. So lots of different ways.
With all the government programs that are positioned to advance environment issues, why do you think it is still so challenging to make the
Mm.
significant change that would really reduce the effects of climate change?
Yeah, it's such a challenge, eh? Having all of this support and the incentive to start changing and to start acting on climate, but then something's still getting in the way of us reaching that goal, which is to limit our emissions to 1.5 degrees Celsius. And I wonder what a lot of other people think about this, because, why are we continuing to talk about this and implement policy and create action plans, strategic plans, but maybe we're not seeing the results that we hoped for? And I think part of it has to do with, and this is just my personal opinion, but maybe it is because different levels might not be on board, and there might be something stopping them from being on board climate action, whether that's something economic or maybe they're not quite understanding the concept completely or have not really had lived experience. So I was thinking about the lockdown the other day and the pandemic and seeing that, it was a really visible, tangible experience for a lot of people. And so that visibility and the fact that you could feel yourself changing your life around, it pushed government, it pushed policy to changing really quickly, and all with evidence-based research from scientists. So I think that when I think about climate change, which is a really invisible thing to many, I think, what do we need to help us really understand what's going on? Will it take some communities feeling the impacts of climate change and the consequences of it? Maybe it is that case, and maybe that'll then fuel people to really understand that this is an imminent issue. And to kind of wrap that up, we recently had the May Derico storm hit Peterborough region, which probably hit Toronto too. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it created really, really devastating damage to a lot of places in this area. And people lost energy and they lost food and they might have lost access to things that kept them going, like if they had accessibility needs. And that, tied to climate change, was a really tangible way to understand that this is a threat that can impact every single person in the city. So maybe we need something visible. Maybe we just need to see what people are missing. And it might be that information, it might be money, it might be that connection to health. Yeah, that's what I was thinking about that.
Well,
Thank you.
for these types of situations, you just gotta let people know, like show them the evidence, like show them pictures of the ice cap, and show them like polar bears like migrating to other snowy areas
Or
because the ice caps are melting and stuff.
people can make artworks about it, like posters. Like people can just use their skills or their talents, and you can use it as a way to spread the message of it, and stuff like that. Yeah.
Bring awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring awareness.
Yeah, raise awareness, tell stories. I think there's beautiful art out there that represents how many birds have been lost in the last 10 years. And I think even that is just evidence in itself, but maybe people don't know about it. Same with the polar ice caps, right?
Not enough people know about it.
Yeah.
Also, like the flood, like especially like in small like cities like Italy too, because like there's like water rising and stuff like that, like in New York and like Italy and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Affecting,
And sorry, go ahead.
affecting all of us.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we talk a lot here at GreenUp about the Netherlands and how they're going to be the first country to reach carbon neutrality by 2050. And I think that's like a really good goal to have, but it seems like their system was already set in place for that. Like from the very beginning, they wanted to have walkable cities and green spaces and a healthy outlook on the environment. So I wonder how we kind of nourish that in people in Canada, where a lot of us like to drive and we want to shelter from the cold and use a lot of energy. It's it's that storytelling that I think is a big part of it.
Um, when people talk about climate change and the environment, what do you think the role of government, industries, financial institutions, science, and the educational system, and finally, the 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 individual in terms of the impacts of policies and actions where it comes to climate issues?
Yeah. Oh, so such a good question. And also really heavy. Um, there's a lot that everybody can play, a big role that everybody can play when it comes to climate issues. And I think I'll just touch on the action part because policy and impact really tie into action. And I think as part of GreenUp, I've learned that it's really important to empower people to act and inspire them. And so when we think about that, we can see that governments are acting on climate action by providing grants and funding to local initiatives like ours. So to have them continue providing support would be really amazing, but also the knowledge behind the support. And that could be the case for upper level government as well as municipal government. Working with those relationships is something that GreenUp has cultivated for 30 years. And I can see the benefit just from being here for 4 months that 30 years of relationship building has had, where we all have a common goal now. Or I should say, a lot of us have a common goal now. And then going into industry, there are really tangible ways that industry can tap into new technology, new tools, and research that'll help them emit fewer emissions. And organizations like ours that work on environmental education and engagement can help make that happen because we have that sort of hub of knowledge that can help people see the impact that they're having. And financial institutions, same thing, thinking about where they invest some of their money into. And that's just a whole other conversation, I think. But then for scientists is to continue what they're already doing and to discover new technologies that'll help us reduce our emissions and to lower that warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. But I think the most important piece for me is education, with my background knowledge and experience, because I've worked with young people and old, and the common theme between all ages is that everyone everyone has a home, and that home is the environment, and it is the earth that we're on. And if we want to protect our home, then we really have to all work together. So to start by integrating climate education from a very young age and empowering kids as well to make their own decisions that are greener and more sustainable, like walking or strolling or going into nature and learning about it. That's one way to bridge that connection between their lives and this invisible thing called climate change that is increasingly becoming more visible as time goes on. So, yeah, I wonder what you think about that.
The same thoughts you have, basically.
Yeah. Um,
Oh, and is there anything else you'd like to add to the conversation that we didn't cover?
yeah.
Oh, sure. I wrote down something that was really cheesy for this part. And it really just sums it up in that, like you two were saying, we should tell stories and create art and celebrate what we are doing. Because I think empowerment does not come from being really sad about the issue. It comes from being happy that we're doing something, and happy about those relationships that we're making. So I think as somebody who's 24 and looking into the future, I think what I'm going to do personally is keep telling stories, and it might look like going on social media and celebrating the environment that I'm in, or it might just look like chatting to a friend about the issue. So that's something that I encourage everyone to do, is to celebrate the little successes in life, and maybe then we'll see a more green and healthy future for us all.
Thanks, Lily.
Thank you.
And that concludes today's episode on climate conversations.
And remember, kids, if you litter, you'll be more bitter.
Exactly.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and check out all of our social media platforms. For more information, check out our website.